Hi, I'm Tricia from Lazy Tea Crochet, and this is a tutorial for the Discovery Fingerless Mitts crochet pattern that I've created especially for Gwen Erin Natural Fibers and the Yarn Discovery Tour 2019. Gwen Erin is located in Hubbard, Ohio, and they carry beautiful fiber art supplies in the shop and online at gwenerin.com. This pattern uses Enid, which is a lovely 3-ply DK weight wool. It's so soft and silky to work with. The label calls for a 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter or size 7 to 9 hook. But after playing with some stitches, I went down to a size 5 or F 3.75 millimeter hook. I wanted to create just a tighter and warmer fabric for these gloves. For this pattern, I'm crocheting 30 foundation single crochet stitches. I have this written out on the printed pattern, but I wanted to show you here how it's done. Start by chaining 2 stitches. Insert the hook into the first chain and pull up a loop. Chain 1. I usually mark that stitch by pinching it so I know that's the chain. Yarn over, pull through 2 for the single crochet. Insert the hook in the chain, pull up a loop, chain again, mark it, and single crochet. Insert the hook in the chain. See, I only have 1 there. I want to make sure I get under both loops of that chain. Pull up a loop, chain 1, and single crochet. Mark the chain so you know where to insert the hook, and then single crochet. Insert the hook in the chain, not between the chain and the single crochet. So you want to make sure you have the 2 loops that you're into the chain. Pull up a loop, chain 1, and single crochet. You want to work into the chain with those 2 loops, not between the chain and the single crochet. So we're going to continue and work 30 of these foundation single crochet stitches. You can see it can be a little fussy, but the more you practice, it creates a nice, pretty, and stretchy edge for the beginning of our fingerless gloves. So at this point, we're going to make sure it's not twisted. Wrap it around, and with the yarn at the back, insert the hook into the very first single crochet, yarn over, and pull through both of those to join it, like that. Let me show you that again. We have the 30 stitches. I'm gonna bring this end around without twisting it. Insert the hook into the first single crochet. Pull the yarn through both. Here we're going to work 1 round of single crochet by chain 1, single crochet into the same stitch, and each stitch around. So you're going to have 30. single crochet. So that's 30. And from now on, we're going to work in half double crochet, but we're not going to join each round. So I usually use a stitch marker, but you can use a scrap piece of contrasting yarn. And we're going to start working in half double crochet. So yarn over, and then skipping the chain 1, insert the hook into the first single crochet and work a half double crochet. Work a half double crochet in each stitch around. So when you get back around to the first stitch, you're going to move the stitch marker up and continue. Half double crochet in each stitch around. And you can see that this is starting to work out. It's a nice stretchy fabric. When we get back around to the end and I show you some tips on working the ends in, this will tighten up this, and I'll show you how to fix that when we're all done. So continue working in half double crochet. The pattern calls for a total of 9 rounds of half double, so you've got 1 more there, so do 8 more rounds, marking the beginning of the round each time as you go up. At this point, I've worked my 9 rounds of half double crochet, marking the beginning of each round with a stitch marker. In the pattern, it's actually rounds 3 through 11, because first round is foundation single crochet, round 2 is a single crochet round, and then rounds 3 through 11 are half double crochet. And we're going to start to turn for the thumb. We can remove the stitch marker. And as written in the pattern, we're going to turn these rows for the thumb. So the chain 2 at the beginning does count as a stitch, and we're going to turn and work a half double crochet into that same stitch and each stitch around. And when you get back to the beginning, we're not going to join because we're going to turn and keep working the thumb. But count your stitches and you should have 31, including the beginning chain 2. We're going to chain 2 and turn HDC, half double crochet into the same stitch and each stitch around again. And when you get to the end of this row, make sure you work the half double crochet into the last top of the beginning chain 2. So here I've crocheted a half double crochet into the last stitch and the top of the chain 2. If you count your stitches, you'll have 1 extra, so you'll have 32 for this row 2 of the thumb hole. When you get to the end of row 4 of the thumb rows, you'll have 34 stitches because you've increased 1 on each row going up. But instead of turning, we're going to join to close off the thumb hole. So find the top of the chain 2 that you started that row with and slip stitch through to close off the thumb hole. And you can test to fit. The thumb hole's not too tight. If it's too tight, make sure your edge stitches aren't too tight. The beginning chain 2 and your ending half double crochets on each of these rows. And I forgot to mention that these fit me just right, but if you want, you can make them shorter up here by working fewer rounds of half double crochet. Just start your thumb hole sooner. I like the little bit of a length for winter gloves. You can also start the number of stitches at the beginning if you want to make these tighter, smaller for children, or even larger for men's size. Just work your foundation single crochet to fit and work in the same manner around and turning for the thumb hole. The rest of the stitches are worked continuously in the round again, without chain stitches and without joining. So we're going to go back to working half double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook in the same stitch, and half double crochet around. We're not going to join, we're just going to continue to work half double crochet in the round. Here I've worked 22 rounds of half double crochet. I didn't mark my rounds with a stitch marker, but you can count easily from the thumb hole, and the pattern calls for 22 rounds. You can make them longer for arm warmers. You can also make them shorter, and it also works nicely with a ribbed cuff, and I can show you tips on that later. But to finish this off as written in the pattern, we work 22 rows, or rounds, I'm sorry, of half double crochet. And we need to level off this stitch to be able to fasten off. So the next stitch will work a single crochet and then a slip stitch. Pull the yarn through to fasten off, and that levels off the edging a little bit from the half double crochet. For a shorter version, you could add a ribbed cuff or edging. In this version, after joining the thumb, I've worked 4 rounds of half double crochet instead of the 22 rounds as called for in the pattern. You level off by working a single crochet and then a slip stitch, which levels off that jog. It's written in the pattern. You want to start the ribbed edging by working chain 3 and a double crochet in each stitch around. That's what I've done here. That will be 34 double crochet, including your starting chain 3. Then join the yarn to the top of the chain 3. So I've got my round of double crochet, and I'm going to start a row again by chain 3, and that counts as my first stitch. And we're going to do a front post crochet in this stitch, and a back post crochet in the next stitch all the way around. So here I have my starting chain, and I've worked front post, back post all the way around, alternating front post, back post. It comes around to this side. Because we have an even number of stitches, it works out that I have a front post at the end, and I'm going to join to the top of the starting chain 3, and that kind of acts like a back post for each round. Start each round with a chain 3, then front post double crochet to the next stitch, back post double crochet around the next back post double crochet. And when you get back around, join to the top of chain 3. The rib cuff then consists of 1 round of double crochet to start, and then 4 rounds of back post double crochet, front post double crochet, alternating for the ribbing and fasten off. To start on the thumb, we're going to join the yarn anywhere along the thumb hole opening. And you work chain 2, which does count as a half double crochet. And I usually work over this yarn tail for a few stitches. So we're going to half double crochet 11 stitches evenly around this thumb hole opening for a total of 12 half double crochets, including the chain 2. So there I have 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put this yarn end in later with the needle, so drop that. 5, 6, 7, 8, pull this last stitch out just to show you. Make sure when you work your stitches that you don't just go under one loop. You don't want that to be a weak spot or a gap, so try to get at least 2 stitches. Then find the top of your chain 2 where you started and count and make sure, but that would be 12 half double crochets in the round, and join to the top of the chain 2. Round 2 is the same thing. Chain 2, half double crochet in each stitch around. And join to the top of the beginning chain 2. You work 2 more rounds the same way for a total of 4 rounds for the thumb. So on the last round of the thumb, you'll join to the top of the chain 2 and just fasten off. And that creates the thumb. But see what I mean? If you are careful going around, you don't want to have some gaps like that. You can work evenly around and try to avoid the gaps. But you can also, as you're working in this end, try to pull some of these closed without creating it too tight. When starting a project with the foundation stitches, whether it's like this single crochet or half double crochet, you'll have a little bit of a gap that needs to be sewn closed. So I find the beginning of this first stitch going through under double yarn for sure, and pull that closed. Then I usually work my yarn back through just to evenly gather that up and pull it closed. Then with the yarn needle, work the end in diagonally through the thickest part of the stitches. Go around some yarn and work your way back. Don't pull it too tight, but that just evens it up and works the ends in. And the same on the thumb. Work the ends in carefully. I did have a bit of a gap here, so I'm going to go over it while I work my ends in. Not pulling it too tightly, just snug enough. block it going back in the other direction. Snip carefully. And then work the last one in at the thumb, and you're done. This was a tutorial for the Discovery Mitts crochet pattern for the Yarn Discovery Tour 2019. This pattern has instructions for these longer gloves as well as changes for the ribbed cuff. You can find the pattern at Gwen Erin Natural Fibers in Hubbard, Ohio, as part of the Yarn Discovery Tour of 2019. And after that, it will be available in my Ravelry shop at Lazy T Crochet. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Ravelry and Etsy at Lazy T Crochet. Thank you.